dear participants, dear speakers. On behalf of the organizing team, the Med Renewable Energy Consortium, I would like to welcome you to today's conference. My name is Hrvoje Maras. I come from Northwest Croatia Regional Energy Agency, and I will be your host for today, and I will guide you through the session, which is called Energy Transition for the Remote Areas and Islands in the Mediterranean region. So just before we continue, I would like to just set some general rules for the event. So your microphones will be muted during the whole event. Your videos will be turned off. If you have comments or questions for our panelists, please write them in the chat box or raise your hand, and then you will have an opportunity to point your questions directly to the speakers you wish to address. We will also have some polls within this event, and the polls will be conducted with the Slido website, and it will be available in the chat box. So please check it out, and then you will be able to connect to the website of the Slido with your code and able to vote on our polls. Also, the event will be recorded and it will be available on our Med Renewable Energy Project YouTube channel. All slides and presentations will be available for download through our also project website. We'll give you the links at the end of the event. As you can see from the agenda, today's event has a very interactive concept. Its centerpiece, of course, be the panel session, and with a couple of rounds of polls, because we are really interested to hear about your opinions on the topics we will be discussing today. We've also reserved a dedicated slot for the discussion or a Q&A session at the end of the program. So we will have the opportunity to present either your views or just ask questions to our speakers. The reason why we organize this event is to discuss the development of islands and rural regions in the Med area in the context of energy transitions. As we know, these regions have large, if not key, energy resources for successful energy transition of not just those regions, but also the EU. But they also have a challenging, unfavorable conditions for proper utilization of renewable energy sources. We have therefore gathered 6 speakers, which are experts in the fields of both energy planning, financing, and engagement of citizens to provide us with answers, I think, and inspiration on how these vulnerable regions can turn into energy independent and climate resilient places. Before I hand over the word to our moderator, we will just show you a short video about the Med Renewable Energy Initiative, which has been working on the energy transition of Med areas for the past several years.
Two-thirds of global greenhouse gas emissions come from energy use. The EU aims for Europe to become the first climate-neutral continent by 2050. To reach this target, the time for the energy transition is now. Rural and island communities are especially vulnerable to climate change, as many of their livelihoods, such as agriculture, depend on the environment. Therefore, they must be at the centre of the energy transition. However, many rural municipalities lack the necessary support to develop renewable energy projects. This is why the Interreg Med Renewable Energy Project has created the Ecosystemic Transition Unit, known as the EUSEW, as a roadmap for rural and island municipalities to join the green energy transition. The EUSEW initiative aims to mainstream the model, offering an open access toolbox with downloadable guidelines, video tutorials, and more, supporting municipalities to accelerate the energy transition in their regions. Discover how the EUSEW initiative can support you.
now I would like to hand over to our moderator, Ms. Cynthia Echave from the Euro-Mediterranean Economist, to introduce us to today's panelists and the panel session and give a short keynote presentation.
Thank you very much, Hebre. It's a pleasure to be today with all of you. I'm thrilled to present the expert panels that we have. So first, I will give a very brief, I hope, in a glance to show you precisely what the video was introducing to you. So let me share my screen. And okay, so there we go. So basically, as we were commenting, our aim, it's when we analyze different territories, we have to understand the different needs and the different concerns that we have according to the morphology, density, environmental conditions, as could be from urban, islands, or even coastal areas with intense activity on their territories, and at the same time, rural areas. We have learned through these, through different projects and different experiences that the aim of policies have to tackle also addressing to the specific concerns of each one. So if we look into the main concerns from rural areas, even if they're in mainland or in islands, we can see that they have a increasing depopulation over the time. There is a higher risk of poverty and social exclusion. We have more problems to have or issues to have access to certain services. And the vulnerability, of course, always to urban sprawling. Just to give you an example, in Spain, we have these kind of figures from 70 to 2010. We have lost the 60% of loss of agriculture jobs. That means a huge problem in terms of food security. So this has not only a repercussion on the territory, of course, in the livelihood of people that live in these areas, but at the same time at national level in the overall economy. And also how it is over the time, the development on the territory. If you can see, in the case of Spain, we have a very specific concentration of the population in certain areas, and the modest extended area, it's of isolated, remote, or small municipalities. Just to give you 2,000, almost 2,800 municipalities are around 100 and 500 inhabitants. But this also happens on the rest of the Med area. If we look into the different regions are around Spain, France, Italy, Greece, Croatia, Slovenia, we can see that these small municipalities is present all over. So the same happens with the islands. We have a strong issue with the lack of supply of resources and how to manage them properly, the limitation of the land use, but at the same time, all the impacts from climate change are present there in islands and in coastal areas. And of course, we have a very intensive presence of touristic activities that this also makes a huge concern for the developers in these type of territories. Again, just to give you a figure, in Spain, for example, in the Balearic Islands, there's a huge dependence on these activities. And in the overall country, i.e. the islands in Spain, we have lost 45% of the agricultural area from 1999 till 2009. In 10 years, almost a half of the agricultural area was done. This is the data from the statistics. So, fortunately, in the last years, at European level, we have has been developed the long-term vision for the EU's rural areas, that it's with a foresight vision till 2040, where 4 main areas are highlighted: to work for stronger rural areas, more connected rural areas, more resilient, and to foster well-being, and also to work for a prosperous rural areas. And this now it's also summarized in the Rural Pact. So according to this vision, several agendas, rural agendas, I'm sorry, in different countries have been developed lately. So if we link this to this current situation of energy, it's essential to have this common understanding, not only about the development in terms of territorial and cohesion point of view, but also how this is going to deal with the acceleration in terms of energy transition. As we see, even though the huge efforts increasing the renewables in a European energy mix, we're still having a huge amount of dependency on the exterior. So this is a signature that we will need to work, and this has to link also with the development and the land use occupation. So our project, what we did is to go into deeper analysis into small municipalities, villages, and what we find out is which was the situation on the implementation of energy plans. We see different approaches according to the countries, but what we find out that in a certain areas and dimension sizes of municipalities, they present some barriers and needs. So according to this, we work with the team and the partners to develop the ETU initiative. As the video was explaining to you, the aim is to give support and to give a platform that allows more access to tools, methodologies that are developed at the moment in the MED program, in the Interreg MED. So we gather them and we organize them in order to focus in specific goals, like it is said on our manifesto. So we aim to have an energy transition with an holistic approach. That means precisely to have in consideration other issues related to the territory, ensure the territorial equity and equality, social innovation, green economy, and of course, cooperation and commitment between the actors. So the model, the roadmap that we, it's a tool, it's a method that we developed, and what it aims is to have a structured approach, a frame to link different policies into actions and different projects on the ground. So there are 4 main pillars that are organized this the ETU. It's the territorial component, infrastructure, and social and organizational. At the same time, we develop a series of indicators to allow us to test and to see the level of this accomplishment between the different pillars and to achieve an ecosystemic approach. So the territorial component was more related for the land use, technological to facilities, equipment that we need, but also the incorporation of the digital tools. Social component, of course, in terms of the communities, but also the provision of services, and the organizational component that it is referred not only on the associations and the governance that it's behind any project or initiative. So what we did in the last 2 years is to work with 9 flagship cases, we call them, all distributed in different countries in the MED area and in different types of territories. So we'll go from urban, small municipalities to rural and islands. So for each one of them, we dig into the model to characterize them and also to settle some strategies and scenarios according to what they are developing and their ongoing projects or plans. So in that sense, I will give you just in a glance 3 results. For example, for a rural area village in Valdembas, this is in Catalonia, about 3,000 inhabitants. This scenario, so this analysis helped and with the support, with the technical support of the community, the renewable energy community, we managed to have some relevant results that help them to envision and to have some foresight scenarios in order to have more tools for their decision making. So in the case of Onda, also was to analyze the incorporation of e-mobility into the fleet of the municipality. So, which were the level of sufficiency that they could achieve with their PV solar installations. And the combination, of course, of the two technologies, solar and wind. And then we also have another cases that were very interesting, that it was gathering several municipalities, as it is the case of Rio Monachil, that they work, and we work with them for foresight also scenarios to see in potential future scenarios how they can extend the renewable energy communities that they are working in one municipality to other 4 municipalities, and to see which should be the necessities in terms of equipment, infrastructure, and investment. So with this, what we aim to do, and we want to discuss today with our panelists, is of course how to increase the support to the rural areas, which are the key aspect that we should take into account, but also to encourage you, if you are driving any initiative, any project related to energy transition at any of these type of territories, to address to our initiative, and we will be very welcome to make you part of the community and part of this ecosystemic approach to think in a more holistic and for the prosperous future of our islands and rural areas. So these are some of the, you can find in, I think that we will share in the chat the link that you can go into the sign of the letter of commitment, and basically is to address municipalities, local entities that are aiming to also give this approach to showcase, and our initiative can give a visibility to that. Okay, so that's all from my side. Thank you very much. So I will give now the floor to our colleague Alexa Boulanger, that she prepared a few poll of questions.
Thank you, Cynthia. Good morning, everybody. So I am Alexia, and I would like to propose you to answer a short survey made by 3 questions. We would like to know your opinion and also your position on some topics related to energy transition. So it will be very short, but it can give an indication of the position of the audience on this topic. So to do that, I would like to invite you to go on slido.com. You can use your mobile or your laptop, and you will have to enter the code. Let me share my screen so that you will see. Share the screen. Okay, you will have to enter the code hashtag 2172854 to see the question and being able to answer. So you can see here the first one. I will give you some minutes to join slido.com and answer the first question. But the first question is, in what capacity or role would you like to participate in the energy transition process? Let's wait a few seconds to have more answer, and after that we will show the results. Don't be shy, you will answer in an anonymous way. Okay, we are starting to receive answers, so I will show the results, but you can continue to vote because the result will change automatically. Okay, that's very interesting. So a lot of you, half of you, would be member of a renewable energy community or an energy cooperative. That's very interesting because it is quite a new concept. It's not really new because the European Union already prepare some directive related to renewable energy communities and energy cooperative, but it is new in the sense of the member states have just transposed or are going to transpose this EU directive. So it is something new for territories, citizens, and actors that could be part of this kind of community. But it's interesting that in the audience, more than the half of you already know the concept and would be part of this kind of organization. So that's very promising for the future. 29, nearly 30%, 26% is already part of the process of the energy transition. So that's also a good thing. It would be interesting to understand as what you are part of the process, as technical support, you are part of an energy community already, you are supporting projects. So it could be interesting also if you want to write in the chat, what are you doing for being part of the process of energy transition? 13% are investor in the individual project. So that's also good because we need also investment for energy transition. So it's good. We have a panelist that will talk a bit more about crowdfunding. So I think it will be interesting to comment also about that. And few of you do not enough about these innovation models to make a decision. So that's also very interesting and very promising for the future because you are few to not being enough informed. Sure, the information of citizens and actors have to be pushed to go ahead with the energy transition, but that's good to see that a lot of you is already well informed. Okay, the second question is related to renewable energy communities, and what is your understanding of the renewable energy communities concept? So please vote. Okay, we can start to see the first results. Okay, 50% are currently part of a renewable energy community or supporting renewable energy communities. It's very good. Aware of the concept, but don't know how to participate in a big part also. So that will be, I think, the main topic to push in the next period. So inform well all the actors that can be part of a renewable energy community and give them the tools to create this kind of organization. I have a limited understanding and would need more deep information. Okay, that's normal. And it will be the work of international and national organization related to energy transition in the next period. Okay, the last question is also related to renewable energy community and regards the barrier. So what are the main barriers to the development of renewable energy community in your country? Please select the 3 most relevant for you. I will give you a few seconds to make your selection. And after that, we will see. Let's show the results. Okay, administrative burden, excessive administrative burden is arriving first. Okay, yes, that's an important issue, and I think a lot of simplification have to be done to improve the deployment of renewable energy communities. The second place is the lack of awareness of the potential actors. Yeah, as I was commenting with you before, it will be a huge work we will have to do in the next period. So informing all the citizens, the potential actors, municipalities, and give them the keys and the clues to be part of this organization and create them. And the third that is becoming the second. It is a poor or not completed regulation framework. Effectively, the EU directive, the RED II and EMD EU directive have just been transposed in a lot of cases partially. And so the regulation framework is not completed. This creates a lot of people are not aware of the possibilities, the incentives that are also an important barriers. So yes, there is also a work to do from at national level to complete the regulation framework related to renewable energy community. I thank you very much for your voting. It has been interesting for us to see your opinion and your position. So thank you. And maybe our panelists will comment also these results. So I will give the floor again to my colleague Cynthia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alexia. I think it's a very excellent exercise to start the session and to warm up a bit the discussion that we will have. So thank you for your participation. Okay, so now it's turn to present our excellent expert panel. So let me introduce you all of them. I will start with Lisanne Raderschall. She's a policy analyst from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD. Welcome, Lisanne. Also to our colleague Kostas Komninos. He's director from the Network of Sustainable Greek Islands, DAFNI Network. Welcome as well. Also to Mrs. Maja Jurišić. I hope I say it well. Okay. So she's president of the island movement in Croatia. Also to our colleague Mauricio O'Brien. He's a country manager for Spain of the European Crowdfunding Network. Welcome as well, Mauricio. We have a nice participation with you recently. And also José Miguel Granados. He's a technical coordinator of CooperaSE, and he's we'll also very glad to have him. He's representing the Rio Monachil flagship cases that we have in the initiative. Okay, so the dynamic of the session, we're not going to have presentations, so mainly to discuss among your expertise and your knowledge. So I will go one by one, first round of questions, if you allow me. So I will start with Maja. So let's go into the islands dimension. So I would like to know if you can share with us your opinion about which are the biggest obstacles that right now islands are facing precisely for energy transition processes. Please, Maja.
Thank you very much. I hope we hear good. Well, obstacles, I'm always the one who is talking about the obstacles. There are lots of obstacles, but also lots of opportunities, especially now when the energy transition is finally became the main political force on all the levels. So finally, we got to the area in all countries, I believe, but as I see in Croatia, that we don't need to be the ones who are constantly talking about the energy transition, but people are now aware accordingly to what is happening with electricity bills and national incentives and national politics, that the energy transition needs to happen. It's not anymore the question of if we want to happen. So let's say that this obstacle that of being aware is luckily or not in these circumstances is slightly going to be overcome. But the thing is, and that we will probably talk also about later, that the lack of the capacities of the main actors that we have, especially on the islands. We don't have human capacities for much less complicated things than the energy transition. We don't understand energy transition as a part of the every sector that is functioning on the islands. We see it as something aside, something that is not understandable, something that someone else needs to do for us. I'm talking from the level of the island, especially from the level of the local authorities. They don't have enough capacities for other things, for the communal things, for the main problems that you were talking about in the rural areas, about the social care, the health care, the schools, the things that are much more important for the people, for the human lives. And then when we come to the energy transition, this is something that should be like added value, and we don't have time and capacities for doing it. I think that the money and the innovations and the projects are not going to be the problem, especially as I told regarding the political things that are supporting us, but regulations, understanding capacities and knowledge, technical, especially technical knowledge. And as I saw in this questionnaire, only 5% said the data is a problem. For us, it's one of the biggest problems. So we cannot get it. It's like we need to really dig for the data, and without data, we can only make assumptions, not make some concrete things. So it's quite of obstacle. Cynthia, you are muted.
Sorry. No, thank you, Maja. Indeed, I mean, the islands have a specific issues or problems dependent. But let's see, for example, from the Greek point of view. So I will point to Kostas. In your opinion, which are the success stories that you have been developing, not only linked to energy transition, but also to environmental development on islands? And if you can explain us briefly which is the current situation. Please, Kostas.
Yes, hi, Cynthia. Hello, everyone, and thank you for the kind invitation to join the panel discussion today. So yeah, there is, as Maja said, there is some ongoing process with and a lot of interest with the energy transition in the island. So I would say there are resources, let's say, allocated for the islands to be supported in that direction. And the truth is, that islands, they can be quite interesting ecosystems also in the approach of the specific project of going into more ecosystemic, let's say, transition procedures. In Greece, what has been happening, and the different islands have been in the spotlight in the last years, is there have been different projects, and well, some of you maybe you have heard about the Tilos project, where there is a combined energy production unit there with renewables and batteries. There's a similar project combining renewables, wind, with pump storage in Ikaria Island. There is projects in Kythnos that also ourselves as DAFNI, we are supporting very much there. So there are different islands with different approaches. And the truth is that where we've been standing until now is that they were more or less ad hoc, let's say, projects that they were occurring, and to be sincere, due to specific conditions, like Tilos was launched before because of Horizon 2020 project on storage. However, this gave a push towards a very interesting transition procedure in Tilos, which is also going towards a more ecosystemic approach with waste management, also interventions, and electromobility. In EUSEW Stratios, we have a project there that is, again, a broad energy project with the participation of the municipality, but again, we have there structural funds allocated to a very small island, more or less being in some way derogated from state aid rules in that case. In Ikaria, again, we have a long-standing, let's say, project there for hybrid pump storage that, again, then we ended up having a special, let's say, decision from the DG Comp in order to enable the realization of the project. So we have different, lighthouses happening in different islands. However, what is the good news is that these experiences have actually gave birth to a late initiative, which has been also a proposal from the work we've been doing as DAFNI and with other islanders to the Smart Islands Initiative. And this has been adopted by DG Regio and the Unit for Greece and Cyprus. It has been proposed to the Greek government, the Greco Islands Initiative. So this is quite interesting, and this is starting to put a little more standardization, let's say, in in the procedures in the islands, which is actually promoting the development of an integrated strategy for the development of infrastructure and sustainability measures in an island towards creating sustainable and ecological, let's say, destinations and sustainable tourism. This is expected mainly to be applied in smaller size and population islands, and is expected also to use funding from different operational programs from the structural funds or RFF and other sources. For that, we are pushing a lot, let's say, and also in the frame of the Just Transition Fund and Just Transition Mechanism, to have special provisions for the possibility for energy communities and citizen-led, let's say, initiatives to be integrated in these strategies. However, I would say that this is a good example. I mean, we have this individual good practices that I mentioned at the beginning, but I want to be sincere, that they came in reality because of specific also conditions that they take place in many countries, and then we have some good practices. Besides that, there are energy communities gradually developed also in islands, and starting to prepare their agendas, like we have one in Crete and another one in Samos, and we are also in the procedure of establishing more in Kythnos and Astypalia. But yeah, we can see also on the course of the discussion what are the difficulties that we see there and the challenges for such energy communities, especially in relation with a regulatory framework, and also, like Maja mentioned, about the availability of data and the relationship with the DSOs and generally the system.
Exactly. No, very interesting, Kostas, because precisely linking what Maja was saying, I think it's a huge challenge to align different kinds of plans, because this is challenging as well, as we were mentioning, energy with also waste management or water treatment. So yes, I think that in that sense, if we combine a bit of a knowledge transfer, but also with a good use of the funds, as you were mentioning, it's a very clever way to proceed. Thank you, Kostas. We will come back. I want to know also to give the floor to Lisanne, because in that sense, what Kostas was saying, the linkage to urban planning, the different sectoral planning. So from your experience and the work that you're developing in the OECD, which are the main linkages precisely from renewable energies deployment and urban territorial planning in rural areas? Please,
yeah, thank you so much, Cynthia, for the invitation, and also to all your colleagues. It's really a pleasure to be able to join this magnificent panel, and I already was taking notes when you was speaking, and it's definitely super exciting. What is interesting maybe to mention in the first place is a bit of data, a background that the OECD has on really the value that rural areas have in this renewable energy transition. And that's also something that can be used to sort of state the power and make the case for why you need these communities on the ground, which I think is super important. And we already know that rural places are leading in renewable energy generation. So all over the OECD, we see more than 50% of energy is produced in remote areas from renewable energy, whereas you see in metropolitan areas is often less than 20%. So we can really see you're already leading, and you have a really, really important stake in this, because you have these open spaces and the wind and sort of the sun that can generate these this so essential renewable energy. So that's really important. And I would like to point to a new publication that will come out at the end of November, which is Regions and Cities at a Glance. We'll have a lot of more information on sort of the aspects of different places and how they contribute to this important transition. And then it's certainly what we try to argue for is, like, we need to embed this energy generation, renewable energy generation within the regional planning. And it's really important that it's not only a standalone system, but it's something that can contribute to ripple benefits for these communities. And what's really important, and we've already seen this in some of the examples that were mentioned, is sort of the links that are made to economic diversification or into new innovations that can help sort of trigger other sorts of businesses or well-being and make sure that sort of the full potential is used. And this can go from storage of energy that can be used for other activities in sort of the hospitality sector, for instance, which is often very strong, especially in islands, but also in terms of transportation. This is an aspect that can be used to charge your cars. It can be something that that is just really changing the transport sector, especially where transportation is an aspect that has so many emissions, especially in rural places. And I've worked with an island in the Baltic Sea that has done this in a very interesting way, and I would like to give a bit of an example of that. We did a study on the island of Gotland, which is in Sweden. It's in the Baltic Sea, and what they did is very interesting. They set themselves the goal to become fully renewable energy system by 2040. And they've done that by the creation of a roadmap and really an authorizing environment. So it also came from the national level, the region and the National Energy Agency together that developed this with islanders, a roadmap of how they want to do this, providing money and providing also knowledge. And that's one thing that came up earlier, what we heard from the speaker from Croatia, that this capacity is a problem. And one of the capacity building instances or tools that they're trying to do is they have built on the island a local energy center or centrum that is helping local businesses, but also households to switch to more sustainable forms of energy. It's saving energy, but also building their own sort of renewable energy system. And that's something that I think is really useful to have this sort of on the ground, hands-on knowledge that you can dig into. And then also what they're doing, they're really trying to build these circular systems. So they have biogas a lot, which is fueling all of their public transportation on the island, and it's also used for heating local homes and schools. And they have community energy and water systems, so they need desalination to produce water, and they're partly sort of providing the energy for that through the wind that they have on the island. So there you see these sort of linkages into other parts of the regional development planning, like transport, like the water supply, and different things like that. And it's really important to make these linkages in the planning. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisanne. Absolutely. So you are mentioning precisely how to link with the other sectors. Now you're mentioning the transport, and I hope that in your report you are also monitoring a bit, which in the latest years we have been disrupting a lot the transportation in our territories, precisely after COVID. So rural areas are also experiencing different profiles and yeah. Okay, thank you, Lisanne. So precisely in that sense, I will give the floor to José Miguel from CooperaSE, because he's on the ground. He's right now in the front line of developing a renewable energy community, and CooperaSE, it's a non-profit, an association. So could you share with us and with the audience if there is a clear business case, as Lisanne was mentioning, that at the same time we're not only from a governance point of view, but at the end we are having incidents on economics. So if there is a clear business case of energy communities, and if the current regulations, how are you dealing with them, and in the context also of the energy pricing? So, José Miguel.
Hi, Cynthia. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Yeah, the price of electricity here also in Spain is rising. So all the population is taking more concern regarding to renewable energy, PV or so. So yeah, we are developing, trying to develop more energy communities from the social economy participatory point of view. So in these 2 years' time, some different energy communities has been developed or has started to be developed. There was recently, some months ago, a call from the government in order to give some economical resources to the initiatives. So like 40 initiatives have arisen, both from the oligopoly and from social economy. So regarding this business case, we have these two options for the moment. There is like an oligopoly option that they talk this kind of language, I mean business case or so. So we have this option is going everywhere in Spain. It's not that participatory. We have also the other model, or we are trying to build, and it's difficult from the social economy to give like a model. So when we are talking with business case, you have several options. It seems anything can be an energy community, but the directives, European directives, also the Spanish ones, has to take into account this social economic point of view. I mean, this is one of the main points we are now struggling and trying to develop from the social economy, a business case, as you asked about, to fight with another models that they are arising and are the same models, business models.
Okay, thank you, José Miguel. Yes, indeed. I mean, meanwhile, because in Spain, as in other countries, still the transposition of the directive is pending, as Alexia was pointing before, and this is also creating some concerns, and it's a huge barrier also to have clarity on how these business cases are going to be developed. So, of course, this the deployment of renewable energies for sure will have, as we are commenting, an impact on territorial planning, but of course on the way that these business cases are going to be developed. So in that sense, and thank you, José Miguel, to bring it out, I would like to address to Mauricio precisely. They also have experiences from the crowdfunding network, working with different types of renewable energy communities, but also with crowdfunding platforms in different types of initiatives. So, Mauricio, do you think that this citizen financing, it's getting more space in this kind of initiatives? And to share with us a bit, which is the current situation, not only in Spain, of course, but in general, what do you find in the from the network?
Thanks so much once again for the invitation to participate and to share a bit the context connecting to crowdfunding and alternative ways of financing initiatives. I must say that especially with the COVID-19 has created a situation with the pandemic that has to be faced and has to be tackled. We have some data in which already mentions that 63% of the initiatives that were looking and seeking for traditional funding were having difficulties to access that funding during the pandemic. So that is a crucial aspect if we think about small enterprise, social initiatives, or just citizen in general. It's one of the key aspects how to reach that funding, and crowdfunding has a role to play in this as an alternative, because the shops didn't close during all the pandemic. The platforms itself and the crowdfunding service providers did play an active role in to provide the tools, digital tools, for financing those initiatives that they were tackling issues at the time within COVID and even after COVID. Let's say that it's a proof of the value of those sort of enterprise and part of the crowdfunding industry, which is funding initiatives in the hardest time of that we've suffered lately. The importance also to highlight the moment that we are after COVID, it is also the connections with the public sector. How could we combine agile tools of finance as crowdfunding into politics, into that policy making or the grant management and the EU funds in itself, especially if we're drifting. There's into this energy transition, or tackling social issues that have been caused, or that were there, and even harder with the COVID. We have to also address that there is differences within the EU market on the policy side, on the crowdfunding side, and there is a criteria that are sort of put in place just now that we are working on on those common grounds. If we think on the sustainability part, or crowdfunding under environmental, social, or governance issues, which is the role to play? We know that that this criteria are going to be the core and key of the new initiatives at the European level, especially if we focus Green Deal, if we work on the energy transition actions, or even climate mitigation actions in the future. Crowdfunding covers initial funding for those enterprise, and covers the gaps of the more traditional financing sector. One of the key aspects of crowdfunding is that it democratizes access to finance from scratch. We know that crowdfunding has different within the name, and has different typologies, and works very good on how to provide those tools to help investors, to help those initiatives to rise upon their situation. It's a great place also to talk about how does Europe need that type of conversations about the instruments that are at use of the governments, and to encourage those initiatives to participate on those common grounds to tackle sustainable issues. We have to also emphasize that there is a role to be put in place to bring in the core responsibility within society, civil society, within public actors and the private sector. How could be sort of articulated into their DNA, to those collaborations. And this is where we believe that civic engagement, thanks to those participatory tools that could be brought in by the civic crowdfunding, could sustain strategic visions on a longer run. But the policymaking could take into account match funding as a clear example of what it could be done. Imagine those situations, and we could talk in specific areas as energy or general sustainability, or how we could work co-responsibly to tackle those issues from the public and private sector together in that same framework. How could a public authority promote energy communities, or even blue economy incubation within their programs in their territories at the same time that they articulate funding tools? And one of the last but not least, how could the citizenship participate more actively in finding those solutions accordingly to the real needs of those communities, rural or islanders? This is where I must say that civic crowdfunding is an answer, and the match funding does give focus on innovating through concrete initiatives.
Absolutely clear, Mauricio. Thank you for the explanation, and I emphasize what you're saying, that it is essential to have a public-private collaboration, and because otherwise we cannot achieve the level of investment that we need to go. So and here is the role of having ethics behind any kind of activity, and I'm sure that we will be. I mean, we need to advance on which are the ethics behind, and to foster and to boost financial schemes that ensure the sustainable finance and inclusiveness in this sense. So thank you very much, Mauricio. I'm sure that I think that we have a few questions from the audience. So if I think that Heather, if you can, yeah.
Yeah, we have a couple of them. Yeah, we have a couple of them. I see they're quite interesting, and some that are directed to our panelists there. So, Mauricio, while we have you here, there's one question about crowd investing. So, can crowd investing platforms be used for funding of energy communities? And if yes, are there any examples?
There's many examples, I must say. I don't want to bore you.
Okay, so these are not pilot projects, so there are plenty of those. Okay,
there's plenty projects that we could talk about when we're facing energy efficiency. There is even specific platforms that are tackling the composition of solar paneling, energy initiatives specifically from the local, regional, national, or even pan-European platforms that are working very nicely. And also to be said that there was a mention before from our colleagues on the session that we're talking also on structural funds. How could even crowdfunding could be used in combination with structural funds for public authorities? We developed a European investment a report for the European Investment Bank, in which we could, showcase some of those cases. Also to point out, there is concrete initiatives in the rural that have been a reference for projects at the ETU initiative. From that it's La Energía del Cole. It's a small village of 900 inhabitants in Huelva, okay? And they created a energy community that was tackling power poverty specifically, and how it was combined public resources from the infrastructure, because it was a solar paneling installation built on the rooftop of a public school. Okay, this is the public resource. Doesn't mean that public resources is just this. It's also the context, the infrastructure that they have. And it has been a reference because there's also match funding came in from the citizenship at the ground level. And it has been a reference because it combines also public and private engagement. We have those resources, we have the money that the people have put up, the crowd have put up for the campaign with a common goal, that solar installation to tackle energy poverty, but also the engagement with companies that provided either infrastructure or the same materials or solar panels itself, or the engineering part. This is a concrete example. It completely reflects on many of the initiatives that I got to know, the ETU initiative from Monachil, by Donbass, Procida, Ragusa, on how to combine those aspects. We have those infrastructures, how could we use them and promote them and even optimize the resources that we may have with that collaboration.
Great. Yeah, I think I would definitely, in that case, that there are so many examples, direct this participant to your ECN's website just to check publications which were showcasing these examples. Also, we have a question which can be directed to either or one of you, and I would say it's a bit controversial, but okay. So do you think that the national laws that transpose EU directives which are regulating energy communities in EU countries have been created intentionally to discourage decentralization of energy production and to continue favoring big market actors / producers? Same question can be directed towards financial markets. Is EU regulation of crowd investing more enabling or disabling citizens financing models? Maybe Jose, from the ground, definitely regarding the regulations, especially in Spain, Maja as well. Maybe this question is more suitable for you.
Okay, as I mentioned, yeah, we haven't had the transcription of the European directive yet, but this calls for energy communities from the government. They put like their own vision of these energy communities. So they said like 5 person or institutions. They allow in this call, you have like this oligopoly, also energy communities. So a lot of people, well, I don't have time myself, but a lot of people, they are researching about the legal, yeah, I mean, cooperatives, associations, this kind of forms that will be for sure good. But also you have limited societies in this call. So yeah, there. I mean, the government has done this call. We are seeing that a lot of initiatives from the oligopoly has taken place, and also to the municipalities, we are approaching them. They already, yeah, the oligopoly has gone there, and they have shown different model, like land model, like a bigger installation that needed. So yeah, so how they are not supporting the oligopoly, but they are giving room or place for them to also take place in these energy communities.
Okay. Maja, maybe comment just from the Croatian side. You're satisfied with the transposition of the directive to Croatian laws, which are regulating energy communities?
Yeah,
I think I know the answer, but
I think it's really individually according to the countries and the level of understanding, also the level of fear of introducing something new into the legislation. So it's also like we tend to see a theory of conspiracy everywhere, but I don't think so. It's just it's just everybody, every human person, no matter of which level they are working on politician or the business one, they have fear of unknown, and breaking this market into small pieces and taking a pieces from the big players is definitely playing with unknown. So from Croatian part, yes, I do think that the Croatian government in purpose didn't transform the directive from a European Commission in a way to unlock the investments in the for the communities, because we, as lots of other EU countries, have a monopoly of the producer and market player of Croatian electricity company, which doesn't want to lose the part of the market. That's obvious, and I don't think so that we should be silent about it. But also, as I said, I understand from their perception that they are not ready for the new models, and they don't want everybody to jump on the market, especially because they also need to regulate the market. First of all, they need to regulate the network and the producing and everything else. It's not only about the money, it's about the whole system that needs to be changed. So yeah, I think that we need to be persistent, and the time and the examples that we are here talking about, crowd investing and crowdfunding, also needs to show the other models, but also what these models are bringing to everyone, because these models are really win-win for everyone, not only for citizens, but also from private companies. And now also we need to be very aware of the new directive that is saying that I don't know for other countries, but in Croatia, there is no project in renewables that is going to be approved if they don't have approved concept of how they have included and engaged citizens. So this is a big, this is also a kind that it can be used in a PR section, like we are responsible entrepreneurs, as we were in the previous periods of work. But it's for us who understands the models and the benefits, it's a very big area of possibility to really educate and introduce the new models that are actually going to make an impact on the society and the environment.
Yeah, I absolutely agree on all the points that you have mentioned so far. We have also a question directed at Kostas. Question says that, Kostas, do you have more information on the project?
I think it says about the, sorry, Hebra, I think you get frozen. So if it is, they include electricity interconnections. Okay. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. So Kostas, if you can see the question, or I can just.
No, I have read already the question. I saw it popping up earlier. So yeah, according to the announced projects or the expectations to receive financing, Greece on energy projects that they relate with the islands, we expect financing for both the transmission system and the distribution system on the island. So for high voltage new interconnections of islands that, of course, they can also enable the integration of more renewables in the islands, or actually this is also one of the motivations for financing these new interconnections. But usually they are demand driven, so that they are financed in order mainly to provide energy security to the non-interconnected islands. Next, we have a second group of financing, second stream of financing, which is directed towards the TSO. So it's actually upgrading the existing distribution system infrastructure, which is also crucial even after interconnections of the islands. You know, you have like old, let's say, distribution grids on the islands that although we upgrade, we have an upgraded system through the interconnections, and gradually the thermal power plants, they are shutting down. You need also upgrade on the distribution system to enable more integration of renewables on the island. And last but not least, Greece has been voting extensive legislation on storage on different levels, like storage behind the meter for renewables or grid scale storage. And it's expected also to finance storage projects, and some of the islands, they could benefit from that, especially for grid storage or for behind the meter on existing wind, mainly wind farms that they have significant curtailments on their production. I would say that in terms of energy communities and what are the benefits for the citizens through these projects would of course be the increased energy security, energy stability by the new interconnections and the upgrading of the distribution and transmission system, but also creating more electrical space for more projects. One of the key issues in the non-interconnected islands, mainly in Greece, is that with old grid infrastructure, they cannot actually absorb more intermediate renewables like PVs and wind. So by upgrading the grids and going even towards the direction of smartening the grids and allowing, you know, the bilateral communication between management of the grids and the demand, we can also enable demand response and more flexibility mechanisms, let's say, and ancillary services, even provided by distributed energy resources on the island. So yeah, we're quite optimistic, taking also into account that RFF has a short-term, let's say, timeline for finalizing the projects, and we expect some significant system upgrades in the next years that will allow the participation and the realization of more projects by energy communities and citizens.
Thank you to all for answering the questions. Okay, just to finalize the debate, because we're almost arriving to the end of the session. So I would like to others to all, if you can give us a conclusion remark about how do you envision the role of not only local authorities, but the civil society at local level. Because as we have been discussing and hearing from your different remarks, it's important, the both complementarity. So if you please, we can start with Lisanne, please.
Yes, thank you so much for the question. I think, well, as we've all seen, sort of the role of civil society is really crucial, and it's important also for policymakers to recognize that and to give them space and to be able to strategically support them. So it's really important to sort of have a good sort of engagement, have a regular engagement, create also some sort of transparency of who to engage with. I think that's something that's often missing. Civil society is often not clear who to speak to, or people change. So it's really important that you sort of have the stability of communication. You're able to build trust also between sort of the different systems that there are. So you're able to create change according to that. So I think that's really crucial. Yeah, building trust and to be able to have this regular sort of secure exchange. Yeah.
Thank you, Lisanne. Please, Mauricio, your turn, please.
Well, for our final remarks, I must say that we're suffering the regulation, new European regulation on European crowdfunding service providers. It does bring a completely different role and different perspective, and for general public. That exercise on the regulation always it's a tricky, tricky sort of part of the game, but it's there. We have common laws all over the European market. We have somehow, thanks to this initiative and the regulation and clear examples that crowdfunding is a useful tool. It increases the availability of these innovative tools, because there is still a long way to go to help the people to understand those alternatives, and especially benefit, and the citizenship could benefit to participate more actively in investing into those issues that are needed of protection and needed that we could also face. This regulation, in our case, I believe that it brings clear rules and information for the projects and the crowdfunding platforms, bring rules on governance and the risk management for the different crowdfunding platforms. And one of the key aspects of any European regulation is that it brings a strong and harmonized supervisory powers for those national authorities to understand a common framework. From there, there's the perceptions of what we could do with it. Citizenship, we are empowered to help those energy initiatives to rise and to help to prosper.
Thank you, Mauricio. Very clear, very clear. Okay, so Maja, please, if you can give us your final remarks. Please.
Yes, I'm unmuted. It's very important also for understanding of the role of the civil societies in all the specters, but also that the civil society includes all the stakeholders. So from our point of view and our work, it's very hard to be a representative of the civil society, but also to be understand as an expert. So in the most ways, when we do all the job, and then when someone needs to hire an expert, then they do it outside of the civil society, because they don't perceive us as someone who is able to run the energy transition process. So this is, for example, also for already 5 years in Croatia, we were really struggling to open up the incentives, financial incentives, for the civil societies who are doing education. So not technical support and development of the projects, but education and raising awareness of people. And this is like the crucial thing for encouraging the energy transition from the bottom level. But it took us 5 years, and still it's not enough incentives that we have here that are going to unlock our capacities. So we need to work a lot of other things instead of focusing ourselves on what is important. That's something that we are trying to overcome, because Horizon and LIFE projects in small islands and civil societies like we don't have enough capacities for doing it. And also the thing is that developing these kind of projects in the local levels cannot have the impact that we are obliged to do it to the European Commission, that this is where we have a very big gap. developing something that European Union wants from us to develop, but also to satisfy the number of the participants and the number of the people who are going to understand and to participate. And there are so many projects, different similar projects. People will come once, and then after that, if they don't see concrete thing that is done for them on the bottom level, you are not going to be such welcomed anymore. So it's very important to find a way how civil society can really have the role that it needs to have, but also how people can have a more trust into becoming a part of the cooperative or NGO, because this kind of cooperation between individuals, it's not happening. And I don't know when it's going to happen, because now everybody are going to solve their own problems, their own electricity bills, without perceiving the benefits of coming together. And I'm not very optimistic when this, at least in Mediterranean countries, is going to happen. We lost the trust between ourselves, and we are just trying to overcome the problems in our own house, I would say.
Thank you, Maja. Thank you for your thoughts. José Miguel, if you want to add.
Yeah, thank you. Regarding local authorities, because you asked about, they do have power to do a lot of things. They can play the role they feel, or they can, not only in municipal or election times, but they are collaborating. For us, I mean, maybe we are not that happy with the national regulations or so, but the local authorities, they really have a power to encourage citizens or to give the roof, as Monatil they have given. As final remark, 10 years ago, some Energia or Goyener energy cooperatives started in Spain. So hopefully in 10 years, a lot of things have been done. Sorry. So in 10 years time, we hope a lot of things from energy communities we will be having. And we are struggling three main aspects. As Maja was saying, maybe social engagement is really important for this changing the individual for collective, not only PV collective consumption, but also the mentality. Legislation all the time we are saying, and yeah, a funny thing, if you enjoy greenwashing, now we have social washing, so but we have to fight against that.
Thank you, José Miguel. And last but not least, Kostas, if you can give us your final thoughts.
Yes, Cynthia. So, well, I would say, like our topic of discussion, has been addressing the island and rural areas. So I think that we can be very optimistic to that extent. I think that the island and rural areas have a lot to give, and the relation we have also with bigger urban centers, especially rural areas, but also islands being potentially providing actual infrastructure and energy towards bigger urban areas, or even knowledge building the islands. I think there is a lot of capacity. The truth is that through islands and rural areas, because of the connection that they usually have with the citizens, and the higher feeling of ownership, let's say, with the land or with culture and the life of the rural and island areas, it is more or less a prerequisite, let's say, to have the citizens and the communities along with the local authorities together in order to enable transitions. We have seen that for several years, that efforts that have been put in place in island and rural areas, that they have usually the space, let's say, also for bigger installations in order to provide energy to urban areas, they have been very often result into a failure. So I think that the only way to go forward is through more participatory schemes. And regardless, I mean, the urgency, I think that the urgency of the fossil fuel transition will raise also the role of renewable energy communities and citizens' energy communities. So we need to prepare ourselves better, even better, to increase more capacity, to find more ways, let's say, to provide financing, to create more collaborations at the European and global level for that, because these areas, the islands and the rural areas, I think that they will be the ones, let's say, taking the charcoal out of the fire for our planet, also for our economy, especially in Europe. So I'm positive, and I'm looking forward to even more collaboration and more work among us.
Thank you very much, Kostas, and thank you to all for this excellent conversation. And just to summarize, I think that we have some keywords, Hevre. Transparency, build trust, awareness, and civil society engagement, I think. So thank you, and the floor is yours, Hevre.
Yeah, absolutely. Some keywords that have been mentioned today regarding energy communities. So the potential to increase the utilization of renewable energy sources lies within our local societies, definitely. So it can be a powerful tool for utilization of renewable energy, but also to address, I think, energy poverty and to facilitate the uptake of clean technologies. However, we've heard today that there are some serious technical regulatory barriers which exist in the MED countries. They, first of all, have to be corrected, I think, to make the wider uptake of energy communities and citizen-led initiatives within the MED territory. The role of citizens in the energy transition cannot be ignored, so this will be a prerequisite for any energy project, especially which is being implemented within local societies. We have showcased, I think, a lot of inspiring cases of success stories in local communities and rural areas, in which local societies have worked together with public authorities, especially in crowd investing, matchmaking, and civic crowdfunding, I would say. So we will provide all of these inspiring stories to you, and you can also feel free to contact any of our speakers who have showcased something that was really interesting to you. This event is finished, but it doesn't really stop here because this is an initiative. It's not a standalone event. So make sure to follow us on social media and our dedicated website. You can also join our initiative, the ETU initiative that was presented earlier, and make sure to contact us, and we will be happy to start working together with you and help you in any way that we can. Also, if you're on EU Sustainable Energy Week next week, the MED Renewable Energy will have a stand over there, so make sure to drop by on Tuesday at the EUSEW event. I will just share as our final thing. It's the last thing that you will see today. So these are the links of our website, our Facebook page, our Twitter, and our LinkedIn profiles. Also, if you wish to continue working with us, you can join our ETU initiative and sign the letter of commitment, especially if you're a public authority and you wish to learn more about successful stories on energy transition and how we can assist you in making your own energy transition. Also, the manifesto available to SMEs and other organizations. So these are the links, and feel free to contact us at any time, I think. So I wish you a pleasant afternoon. Hope to see you soon at our future events, or bilaterally, feel free to contact us. So yeah, thank you, everybody. It was a really pleasant session today. Goodbye.